Welcome to the Sheffield United Way. We are going to give you a match preview for the Blades and Watford. Team news ahead of Saturday's 3 p.m. kickoff at the Lane to come, as well as last time out player connections, and wait until the end for mine and the guest today, Ollie's score predictions. Also, of course, let us know yours. So we kick things off by bringing Ollie into the stream, and look at you there, sneakily trying to get people to follow you on Twitter. I know your game.
Yeah, well, we had this fancy new thing pop up where you can add your little sub banner, and I thought, I'm having that. I need the follows. How we're not all like you. Some of us need it. Some of us,
Yeah. I got too many. Go and follow Ollie. Now, I do want to talk about our sponsors. Big shout out as well to our members, NordVPN. If you want to carry on watching the programs you love, no matter where you are in the world, check out nordvpn.com/TSUW for the Sheffield United Way. Get yourself a nice discount there. Parrot Peel, the musical ensemble with 98 members in 14 different countries. They're a little bit different, and you can check them out as well. Also, our sponsor of the channel, Indigo Resurrection Bar, Sheffield United Way's dedicated pre-match drinking establishment. You can often see Ollie pre-match in there. Ollie, I want your thoughts straight away on the last game, which is a match that I did the match reaction for, which you can still see on this channel. Yeah, that face says it all. I was really down after this one. How did you feel about Millwall 3, Sheffield United 2?
Oh, it was one of them. If you'd asked me at half time, I was absolutely fuming. Obviously, it was 1-1 at that time, but I was so angry with our first half performance. I thought it was really poor. Thought we never got going and we allowed them to get on top of us, but we got in level through a mistake. And you started to think, right, second half, let's kick on. And we did. I thought performance-wise, it was better second half. We put them under pressure. But that made it so much more demoralising when we threw it away with stupid defensive mistakes. Like we were just switching off. We weren't following our man. We just left Bradshaw, first of all, to win a really easy header, which he finishes really well. But he should not be winning headers in our box. And then the second one where we just let him stand on goal line really and kick it in with nobody anywhere near him. It was just a really, really frustrating game that really demoralised me, I'll be honest, because you kind of thought that after Middlesbrough, we'll see a reaction. And after that first half, we'll see a reaction. And eventually we saw a reaction in performance, but got nothing at all to show for it. And yeah, it was a really, really frustrating one.
Summed up superbly. I need add nothing. Instead, I will say it feels like quite a long time ago that Sheffield United last played Watford at Bramall Lane. Take me back.
I'm taking you back a very, very long way. I'm taking you back to Boxing Day 2019. That thing, coronavirus, was in the future. We'd never heard of it. We were laughing about this jokey little virus that was coming out of China. We didn't think anything about it. We were on a run of 3 straight wins, and we were 6th in the Premier League at the halfway point. Watford, they were bottom. They'd had a stinker of a campaign. But actually, this was one of those games where Ben Foster had an absolute worldie and we had a draw. Now, how did the game play out? Foster made a worldie of a save in the first 10 minutes. A really nice bit of play from United back when Jack O'Connell was the one bombing down our left. He fired it across. McBurney, good effort and a good save by Foster. And then they scored with their first kick going forwards. A long kick from Foster, just bounced straight through our defence. And then Delafeu was in one-on-one. He takes a terrible touch, but Dino stays on his line instead of coming out and makes it a really easy finish at the near post. United were soon level. They've made a defensive mistake. Baldock comes charging through as he does with his pace, and there's very, very minimal contact, but he went down. It was our first penalty in the Premier League, and Norwood fired it home. Second half, United did everything they could to try and break them down. There's one save in particular from Foster was insane. Muse gets down the right, crosses to the back stick, and this is one of them things where it's a goal every time you see it. I watched the highlights of this game today, knowing the score, having seen the save before, and still could not believe it didn't go in the net. It was unbelievable save. John Fleck, really unlucky not to win the game. But yeah, a 1-1, it finished, and Would we take that this time? I don't know if we would, but what we would take is Ben Foster not being in their net, because he always has a world day against United.
Always does. And of course, he retired in September of last year. He actually, at the age of 39, I remember him announcing that one. So no chance of that. But, bit of illness going through the Blades camp. I thought we could talk about what's been happening there as we look at the team news and get Nick's predicted lineup. Everyone's apparently fine, though, after this minor illness. Everyone that was fine for Millwall, including Illiman, after the knock he took before, a full week's recovery, which, we're going to have to enjoy because there's a really busy run-in coming up. I think what will be the run-in that is the true test and will tell how we're going to do for the rest of this season. It often goes right to the wire for second place. This next few weeks is going to decide that, ignoring the cup game. Paul Heckingbottom has said everyone is good and fit, had a bit of illness going through, but everyone has been on the grass. And Stevens should be the next player to return, whilst Reece Norrington-Davis, remember the name, and Rhian Brewster will be longer-term Baldock back, which is good news, but unlikely to play in this one. I do, just before we get Nick's team, Ollie, want your thoughts on the reports of back running with the group, Jack O'Connell.
Oh, don't tease me. Don't tease me, Hal. I would just love. I know that obviously it's been so long out for him, and him coming back and being at the level he was before, there's so much obviously that's happened in between then and now. But one of the things that is just incredible is to see that sort of mental strength for him to at least just be back running with the group, just to be back trying to get back there. And I think one of the most special moments of all my time as a Sheffield United fan will be the day that he makes an appearance for Sheffield United again. Now, it might be that he plays 30 seconds at the end of a game and then he goes off into retirement. And if that's it, then he'll always be a legend for me at United. I just would like to see him at least one more time. And I think that'll be a really, really emotional moment. It'd be so good to have him back. So good.
Yeah, it'd be nice if Blades fans could serenade him as well with a song. He definitely deserves that. He's been through some really, really tough times. Let's have a look at what Nick is saying for this Watford home game. Wes in goal, Ahmed Hodzic at right centre-back, John Egan in the middle. He's gone with Clark over Jackie Longthrow. Ollie, do you reckon Clark deserves to get back in?
No, I think that's a controversial pick. I would be keeping Jackie Longthrow in. I don't think the difficulties that we've experienced in the last few weeks defensively, don't think you can put them down to Jackie Longthrow. I think primarily they've been down the right-hand side where maybe we've looked a little bit more leaky. So I think that's harsh. I can see why we'd do it. I think Watford have got a lot of attacking threats that we will come on to. And potentially we're saying that Clark is a much sort of steadier hand. But I would be shocked to see that myself. I think I'm expecting to see Jackie Longthrow still in that spot.
Controversial. Ollie disagreeing with the gaffer. We've got Bogle at right wing back, Max Lowe at left wing back, Norwood and Doyle, Berger and Illiman with Ollie McBurney up top. I wouldn't say no to that lineup. Nope. I would think that'll get the job done, and we need to put in a better performance than we did at the opening game, of course, when we saw Rob Edwards as manager of Watford. So let's talk about them. Ollie, what can you share?
Yeah, so what are Watford looking like? They have got a few injuries. They've got some of their big ones are mainly in defence. They've got Ferreira and Ngakia, both their right backs are out. I think Kamara, the left back, who normally starts, is also out. Cathcart could be back, but it's unlikely he'd come straight into the team anyway. And then Cleverley, Gosling and Kalu are just long-term, so I expect them to be out for a while. In terms of their starting 11 and what that looks like, I think we will see a change from what they had last Monday in their very impressive performance to beat West Brom. I think Keenan Davis may be left out and they'll really try and push on the midfield battle instead. I don't know what I think about that. I think obviously we don't want our midfield getting overloaded. I think we do need to dominate midfield in order to win games, but just not seeing Keenan Davis would be very nice because I think he's excellent and he scares the living daylights out of me. So what does their team look like? I think it's going to be Backman in goal. I think they'll have a back four, Mario Gaspar, Ryan Porteous, Wesley Hurt, and then Morrison at left back. I think they'll have Louza, Chowdhury, and Ismail Kone. You may remember him in midfield. And then I think it'll be a terrifying front three of Ismail Assar, João Pedro, and Ken Sema. Now, like I say, might not be a massive shock if we do see Davis coming in, maybe instead of Kone and playing centre forward. But I think they're going to pack it and really try and go for that midfield battle. What do you think, Hal? Who scares you?
They've got a player called Loser. I mean, that doesn't scare me. That's going to be famous last words if he gets a.
That's going to be famous last words. I was on a show with Gab Sutton earlier in this week, the SL debate show that he does, and the Watford fan who joined us for that said that Loser, when fit, is arguably their most influential player. They think he's a real standout, but they just can't keep him on the pitch, can't keep him fit, and frustratingly, he seems to be back just in time for this one.
Bum. That's my thoughts. What about Watford fans' thoughts? Well, we don't have to get them. Roy does. Opposition View created by Roy's View. Go to roysviewfrom.com. We got a bit of grief. I remember, when I got back from the Valentines and I hadn't collated them. I think I'd left that to you and Nick. And what I usually do is I get a Broadchurch, a real mix, some light, some shade. You two, I don't know, I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not blaming. You two just chose the negative stuff. And of course, I'm the one who read them out. So I'm the one who got the grief. I also hadn't read them before, and I drank quite a lot of wine. And I read them probably like a sort of 4-year-old for the first time, reading a big book. But today, I'm
not
fine.
Even sorry. I'm not even sorry about it, Hal.
Let's go and have a look at them. Here's some Watford comments. Can go to Sheffield confident we can get something. No reason at all. We can't go on a run now. Confident from that Glory Hornet boy. Can't be a better time to play Sheff U, who are going through a blip at the moment. Don't hear the word blip often enough in regular parlance. Sheffield United away will be an interesting test for Slaven Bilic because Rob Edwards beat them easily. Ollie, thoughts on beating us easily?
I mean, beating us easily seems a little bit... I mean, don't get me wrong. We weren't great that first game of the season, but they only beat us because of a terrible defensive mistake and an offside goal. So easily,
our corner.
That's pushing it a little bit far.
I was right behind the goal where we were taking the corner at that game. I remember Max Lowe had an absolute stinker. I was furious with Lowe after that performance. And since then, he's actually admitted that he didn't really give his all in that game. And you know what? Fair play to him for doing that. But shouldn't have done that in the first place. Let's carry on. Hope we lose. That's my favourite quote I think we've heard of all time. Why would Watford fans be saying hope we lose? Is there some Watford fans that don't want Bilic? Because, they've kind of turned a corner a little bit. I don't get that one.
They've dropped. They're not... I think they're right on that borderline, aren't they, with the playoffs? So maybe they're thinking it's time for a change. They've not had one for a while. They're probably starting to think, you know what? We've had him so long. It's time for a change. Because he's probably up there with their possibly the longest serving of the last 10 years, really. He's had, 20 games?
He's due a testimonial. Let's look at the final one that I collected here of the fair comments. And this one, I could not agree with more. I get annoyed when people called Sheffield United just Sheffield. I can only imagine how annoying Blades fans find it. Preach, that mystery person. I could not agree more. Now, Ollie, referee for this one. Big game, calls for a big referee. But we've got Keith Stroud from Hampshire. So what are your thoughts on Keith Stroud before I give you the stats?
Well, I think I seem to remember that we've had him for a couple this season and none of them finishing in anything good for United. I don't have anything particularly against him at the back of my mind. There's nothing screaming at me to say, God, we don't want this guy. But then again, Premier League ref comes in for these kind of games. We don't want that kind. They never have a good game. They never seem to do the sensible stuff. And it doesn't fill me with joy.
Overly officious is what I would say. 26 appearances, 131 yellows this season, 3 reds, 3 pens. One of those he gave against us this season. He's refed our 1-0 defeat at Coventry, so you'll remember that in that game, and our 1-0 home defeat against Rotherham, which was a truly awful, it was a rearranged fixture, truly awful game. So we'll see if the Keith Stroud show is fully in town, and if indeed it's a circus, we'll maybe talk more about Keith Stroud after the 3rd time he's refereed us this season. Ollie, please, your score prediction for Sheffield United Watford.
I can only apologise. This is the Sheffield United way, and I have betrayed everybody involved. I have gone for United to lose this game. I came into this one, I had to do my predictions early in the week. So I do the Championship prediction show with Nick. We film that every Thursday, but we do our predictions well in advance of that. So I did mine on Monday. So putting it in on Monday, was in a bad mood and I wasn't feeling confident. I got my negative pants on. And unfortunately, that saw me predicting us to lose this game 3-1 in a repeat of the Middlesbrough result. I think the difficulties there are Watford do look to have turned a bit of a corner. Obviously, almost got the win against Burnley, then did go and get the win against West Brom. Their key players are back fit. João Pedro in particular scares the bejesus out of me. And I think that he can be such an influential player on their team. They're so much better with him back. And so this one, it worries me a little bit, but let's hope I'm wrong. I've been known to be somewhat of a jinx. And so it would be lovely if that could kick in this weekend and I could be jinxing Watford.
What about your Watford fan and his prediction?
Indeed. So all of our Watford team news that came through earlier on today was from @Adam_Drury1. Now, Adam is a fantastic Watford fan. He's a great follow and he's really, really knowledgeable about his team. He's gone for a 2-2. He thinks it's going to be a draw. He thinks that United will basically dominate this game, but that Watford are going to be really, really dangerous on the break. He thinks using the pace of players like Sarr, of people like Pedro, is really where they're going to hit us. And he's gone for an entertaining 2-2 draw. What's yours, Hal? I've noticed you sit on the fence. You showed Nick's score. We've shown mine. Where are you landing?
I tend to agree with Adam. I do think it's going to be a really tight game. I do think the Blades will have large parts of the game. I think Watford will have enough possession for people afterwards to say it was fairly even Stevens. They're a good side. They know where the goal is. I can see this being a draw. I am actually going to say a 1-1. I think we'll leave the lane slightly frustrated after a good Blades display. We'll probably turn it on right at the end. Let us know in your comments what you think the score will be. Hopefully, you'll be feeling a lot more confident and back the boys better than Ollie and I. I'm doing a bit of reverse psychology. Ollie's just generally negative Nelly. Ollie, when it comes to players that have played for both, also while you're putting your score predictions in, can you be thinking, in fact, there's one on there, of players who have played for both the Blades and Watford? Ollie, give me one, please.
Anytime, Hal, but maybe take me to dinner first. In terms of player connections, I've got a few for you. Darius Henderson, first one that jumped out for me. Obviously, not the most successful time with United. I think Danny Webber was there. And please protect your children. Take them out of the room. Cover their eyes. Cover their ears. Because one certain Mr. Nyron Nosworthy also played for both. Ugh.
Tony Curry, you saw Paul Devlin on the graphic there. Of course, Matt Spring, who could forget? Captain Rob Page, Captain David Holdsworth, and I believe one of your favourite ever players played for both. A lot better at the Blades than at Watford after his injuries, but Steve Cabba.
Steve Cabba, I loved Steve Cabba. Honestly, growing up, so obviously Cabba was at United when I would have been 9, something like that, and I would just run around celebrating every goal as if I was Cabba, scoring on the back garden, shouting that I was Cabba. Just my absolute favourite. I loved him, and I just wish he'd never had the injuries because he was obviously never the same player after that. But
weirdly, one of the first people I met in Cyprus is pals with Steve Cabba. And I thought of all the places to find someone who's mates with Steve Cabba wouldn't have been top of my list. But Blades fans, please let us know others that we've missed that played for both of the United and Watford. He really was. With the Blades, he really was. He had terrible injury luck, and I don't think Watford fans saw the best of Steve Cabba. No. Also, whenever you're watching this, let us know your score predictions. And of course, join us again. There'll be loads more videos coming. We've got some cracking player interviews still to deliver. You'll already be able to see on this channel that Doug Hodgson is coming up very soon, and look forward to the match reaction to this game. Ollie, enjoy the match.
I hope so. I hope I can enjoy the match, Hal.
Yeah, and most importantly, I hope you're wrong. See you later.